Good morning! It is Friday, and that means that it's Fancy Friday, and we're gonna dress to impress today. And yeah, that's basically it. Let's get into it. So today you and I are going to talk about web security. And that seems, before you switch to a new video, this is not going to be one of those, these are the 10 OWASP security leaks that you should know about because there are threats and bad people out there on the interwebs, and if you don't secure your input data or use cross-site request forgery tokens you sanitize all your data so that XSS attacks are not I'm not going to talk about that. Not at all, because there are so many people out there that are way more read up on these topics than I am. So I don't see, it's actually, if you haven't, well, that's actually the way I think about these videos as well. And some people ask me why I don't make more tutorial videos, and I do make a few tutorial videos, but I hope that for those of you who have watched some of my tutorial videos, you notice that it's very rare that I have a tutorial such as how to get started with React, how to build a React component, or how to, make a slider menu or some sort. I will make a few of those as well, trust me, but the most of the tutorials that I make, because the ones that I enjoy making are the ones that are a little bit more mindset oriented. I prefer to teach things that I think that, I watch a lot of tutorials too, right? And I don't find a lot of tutorials that I really like. There are some really cool, awesome tutorials for learning a single thing, like a single concept, but there are very few tutorials from, professional developers who will teach you their way of thinking. And something I absolutely love, and that's why I love Brian Wong so much, is when I can watch a professional developer walk me through the way that developer thinks, how that person reasons, what tools is that guy or girl using. That is the sort of videos that I love making, and I hope those of you who have watched some of my videos feel that those tutorials that I make have are a little bit different, because I'm going for a little bit different. Anywho, let's get back to web security. So, web security. The thing I want to talk to you about when it comes to web security is that the dirty little secret about web security, and the reason why all these security people seem to, it is as if they're trying to push the world towards higher security, and some people are even going as far as exposing the threats that are out there on the internet. However, what I have found in my experience is true is that there are only two scenarios where security in an application, programming security, web security, call it whatever you want, becomes relevant to a company. And the first and foremost situation when it happens is when there's a sense of urgency. Now, what do I mean by that? Sense of urgency, in my opinion, is when the business, the people with the money, or the people who are in charge of the company, realizes that if we don't fix this, we are going to lose money, or we are going to lose customers, something like that. And that often happens after the attack has already taken place. A great example is if, let's say, somebody compromises your comments section on your web shop. Let's say that you have Black Friday coming up, something like that, and all of a sudden you realize that conversion is going down on your website because somebody has injected a piece of JavaScript that, blocks the user from making a purchase on your site. Now that's a sense of urgency. That's a critical compromise that the business is going to care about immediately. Had you come in as a developer and said, we should really fix this 6 months ago, odds are that the people with the money would have sat down and looked at their spreadsheets, looked at their roadmap and said, hey, we have all these important projects coming up that's going to give us more money, and this thing that you're talking about is not really a problem right now, so we don't care. Or rather, we know, it's kind of like brushing your teeth, right? You should do it, but sometimes you forget, right? Or sometimes you don't care. And they kind of just go, oh, we'll put it, in here somewhere when we don't have anything more important coming up. And trust me, there's always something that's going to come in that's more important than security. Because security is a long-term benefit thing. It's like buying insurance. And the business world does not work that way. It's actually kind of funny because you, as an individual, are encouraged to buy insurance. It's actually a legal requirement here in Sweden for some things. And that is a potential investment you make to secure yourself against, problems down the road. But it's very, very rare that money counters or business people think that way. They don't, like in business, you want quick returns on everything you do, and therefore security investments are very rarely a good thing for that. It doesn't add up for them in their spreadsheets, which is kind of funny considering that a lot of really large companies have spent millions and millions and millions on actually damage control after the attack has happened. Anywho, that's the first situation. The second situation is when the security requirement will be critical to the business. If a compromise would happen, it would spell the doom of the company. What do I mean by that? Like CA companies, certificates, HTTP SSL providers, these certificate providers, if they are compromised, that's it. Their brand is dead for the most part. Like they will lose most of their business. Same thing with a bank. Banks need to have security mindset as much as humanly possible, because if they get compromised, they're dead in the water. This company I work for, security is also an extremely high, because we were working towards the banking industry, security becomes a big issue for us as well. We are handling personal information and all that stuff. It's literally, it would be the kiss of death to the company if it was compromised. That's the second time security becomes an issue, when the business itself is so reliant on never being compromised that, basically that the threat is so great that the fear of having being compromised is basically the sense of a fear is large enough. Those are the only two times anybody cares about security. And for the most part, as you do your job, you are not going to think about this stuff. If you're making any regular website, security is not much of an issue. I mean, even for really large companies, it's not an issue. Like LinkedIn, Ticketmaster, don't tell them that I said that. But these things are not very much of a concern. And if you think about it, it's not that odd actually, because security is a gains versus cost game. If the perception is from the business that, hey, we have this security leak, and you will ask the first question, okay, what's the threat if we fix this? Because if we fix it, it's going to cost this amount of money. How much does it cost us if we don't fix it? And what's the risk that that is going to happen? Think of it as buying insurance. I will buy life insurance because the likelihood of me dying is higher than me buying insurance for a volcano eruption. Here in Sweden, at least. If you're in Tahiti or Hawaii, maybe it's different, or Iceland for that matter. But that's the mindset. If you think about it, it does actually make a lot of sense. And what I think is lost sometimes in the security realm is that, security people are passionate about security, and I absolutely agree that we should be more concerned about security. But I would like to take another spin on things. There was a very good example that was shared in a very nice talk I watched the other day about security, where this hacker had warned people at Facebook about a security breach on their profile. They didn't listen, so he hacked Zuckerberg's personal account to prove a point. And had Facebook been a cooler company, if you will, they would have rewarded him and kind of just fessed up, yeah, sure, we should think about security. They didn't. Instead, they punished him for that. Google usually gives away money if you find something like that. He did it in a very overt way. Now think about that. Why? What just happened, and the reason why I suspect that Facebook got kind of pissed off at this guy was that he had exposed a potential threat to the company. What most likely happened was that they didn't just dismiss him. They probably considered, all right, this is the threat to the company. and these are the features that we want to build this quarter, and it's going to provide this and that amount of value. It's going to give us that amount of money. And they probably calculated how much money it would cost them, or how much of an issue it would cause for their business if this exposure, if this was, this hack was attempted. Now, they most likely thought that, all right, the threat and the potential cost of that threat is lower than the amount of money and gain we're going to get from prioritizing it lower down in our backlog. So they most likely said, hey, we're going to fix it in the future, or maybe we won't fix it because it's not that much of an issue for us. This guy who is passionate about security now goes and does something as overt as embarrassing the entire company and embarrassing Zuckerberg himself. All of a sudden, their stock dropped, their respect drops. It became a public thing, and all of a sudden, they are now losing potentially losing a lot more money, and also forced to deal with the issue. And they lose their users lose trust in their business. He caused so much damage by, exposing this flaw. So if you think about that, had he not exposed it in such an overt way, there wouldn't have been a problem for the for Facebook. So you can argue that he did a very nice thing for the users, exposing Facebook for being so lax about security, but he also kind of he embarrassed Facebook at the same time. So if you think about it from different perspectives, you think about it from Facebook's perspective, what he did was a really dick move, and if you think about it from the user's perspective, it was a pretty cool thing he did. So this, remember that there's always two sides, and when it comes to, I argue, web performance or web security, you have to always remember that you can never be 100% secure. It's all about figuring out the right level of security for your use case. Think of it as security in general. If you are facing criminals who are just regular kids from the street, odds are that you can secure your house with a standardized alarm and a standardized lock. But if you live in a high risk neighborhood in some part of the world where the criminals are much tougher, better equipped and so forth, you need to raise the security. So think about that when you're thinking about security. Try to figure out what's the right level of security, because the security people will tell you that they will bombard you with information, and for the most part they are right about what they're saying, but it becomes very, very tricky for you to adhere to all the practices. Try to stick to the ones that are low-hanging fruit, and then for the most part you're going to be okay.